Hello everyone, going live a few seconds early. I'm sitting here waiting. Why not just get going? I'll be here for about 30 minutes, so around 7:30 tonight. And if you're a regular viewer, you'll know this is where you get a chance to ask me a question. And if I can, I will help you. A few little things that are worth sharing straight off the top though. Please do only ask one question, at least early on, because we never get time to do everyone's question. So the opportunity to get through as many different people as I can. So choose your question wisely, but also please try and make it as clear as possible so I can sort of read it and understand it in one go. That would be amazing if you can. Now, if we don't get a chance to get round to your question, remember there are some places you can go. First of all, there is the Be Clever With Your Cash community over on Facebook. The URL there, becleverwithyourcash.com/community. That will take you through to the group. We're about 4,900 now, more or less. So that's a great place for you to go and ask questions. I do chip in when I can, but there are a lot of people out there who are able to share their experience as well. So please do join us over there. And of course, there is becleverwithyourcash.com, my website, which has been going for 9 years now. Loads and loads of information there. In fact, a lot of the time, I might just direct you, your question here might direct you to a particular blog post or video on the YouTube channel. Now, I'm over here on YouTube, down here on Instagram. Hello there, guys. It's sometimes harder to follow you guys, so bear with me. You have to kind of track back and find the questions that are there, but please do ask away. But also, you're very welcome to lurk. It's all okay. Right, we've already got some questions coming over on YouTube, so let's have a quick look at some of those. At the top, we have Mark, and Mark says, "Hi, Andy. Do you know how long the interest rate wise to and is Virgin Money the best?" Right. I don't get the first part of the question, but the Virgin Money best ISA rates at the moment. At the moment, yes, Virgin Money are at the top of the table for most, if not all, easy access and for fixed rate accounts. I have got a Best Buy tables devoted to updates every single day over on the blog. So head to becleveryourcash.com, hit the Best Buys section, and you'll see the ISA tables come up there. But you're right now, if you have a Virgin Money current account, you can get a 3.75 easy access cash ISA, which is really good. They're not far off the best non-ISA options, and also they were, at least this morning, at least at the top or near the top of the best 1 year, 2 year, 3 year fixes on. But again, do check those tables that I've got over on the blog. Nara says, "I moved to the UK in February 2023 from India. I got a contract job in April. I'm in the process of building my credit score. Can you please suggest when can I apply for a credit building credit card and which card?" So I'm afraid I can't tell you when to apply for a credit card, or I can't tell you which one to apply for either. What I would say is do all the things you can do. Like I've got an article and a video taking through different things you can do to help improve your credit report, boost the content on there, because you're starting with pretty much nothing at all. Do those things, and then time to time, go onto a comparison site and do an eligibility search across a number of different cards. I say this most weeks, guys. I appreciate it. Don't worry about asking questions. It's always good to ask these questions. It's always good to get this message out again. But do the eligibility search and see which one you've got the best chance of getting. It doesn't matter if it's a credit building card specifically. You just want to get a card and use it responsibly, and that is what you'll need. Obviously, those credit building cards are more likely to be the ones you'll get accepted for simply because they're designed for that purpose. Flip side is they often have very, very high APRs, but if you're using this responsibly, just paying the card off every single month, only using it for spending you can afford, that shouldn't be a problem. You shouldn't get charged interest at all. Let me just see what's going on here on Insta. I feel like I just swiped past something, a question there. Lewis says, "I hope you're having a good week." I am, Lewis. Thank you so much. But nice of you to ask. Oh, and Lewis again, he's over on YouTube as well. What do you think of the Algebra 1.5% cashback? Would you use it over Chase? So when I've looked into Algebra before, I wasn't massively convinced by it, but I haven't done a kind of in-depth review of it. Yes, there's 1.5% cashback. That is better than the 1% you'll get with Chase. There are going to be, it's not as simple. I think there are restrictions. I will look into it. It's been on the list for a long, long time to kind of properly look at that. I know some of you use it, particularly in the Facebook group. I see some of you comment that you're using it for your spending. To have a look, see what they are, make a call about whether some of those things that will make it not as good as using a normal current account with Chase are worth it for how much you're spending and how much you will get on that. Giga says, "I've inherited £500,000. I know I'm very lucky indeed. I am mortgage free." Fantastic. Well done. That's really, really great achievement. What would be the best thing to do now with this money? I'm only interested in savings accounts, etc. No stocks. Currently, I bank with Lloyds. So with that amount of money, you will obviously, getting the best interest rate you possibly can is great, but you will be subject, as long as you are a taxpayer, you'll be subject to paying tax on your interest. And in fact, if you're not a taxpayer, that interest earning could maybe push you into one of those levels, depending on how much you're going to earn. If you want to get something tax-free, at least some of that tax-free, then you're looking at ISAs up to £20,000 you can put into an ISA every single year, every single financial year, and premium bonds you can put up to £50,000 in there full stop. Doesn't matter year on year, it doesn't reset, it doesn't change again, it's just 50k. So once you've used them up, you're still going to have £430,000 put in different places. Again, go for the best paying accounts out there, but make sure you do split it out so no more than £85,000 is with a single financial institution. This is around the financial services compensation scheme protection. So if a bank was to go bust, that's the most you'd be covered for. So you're going to split it out over different institutions. I would say though, with something of that size, it is definitely worth going to speaking to a financial advisor and getting their thoughts on what you should and shouldn't do. I know you say you're not interested in stocks, but don't say what situation, but maybe your pension, I mean, that is investing, but maybe you will put more money into your pension, but you may already be of pension age. Again, I would definitely speak to someone because that is a lot of money just to be putting in savings accounts, because you're going to be losing money in the longer term versus the rate of inflation. Inflation obviously is very high right now, but even when it is lower, it's still hard to kind of get rates which are kind of substantially better than that. So I would really speak to someone about who could advise you on what would be better for you, again, in the medium to long term. In the short term, those kind of different best paying accounts, splitting them up is a good thing to do. Let's head back to Insta. And F Uphill Fitness says, when going over the personal savings allowances, do I have to complete an assessment return, or as I'm employed, as seen in the HMRC community groups, advise this is done automatically by HMRC? Any knowledge of this? Yeah, so if you are PAYE, you are employed, if you do not already do a self-assessment form, then your interest, tax and interest should be recovered from your salary. So you'll get a higher, a different sort of payroll code, what do you call it? I've gone blank. The little thing that tells you basically how much you get tax-free allowance on your payslip. That will be increased, which basically means you will pay tax, or be lowered, sorry. So you'll be paid tax on more of your earnings to get that back. If you already do a self-assessment form, then you will have to fill that information in. Minimad says, evening all. Hi Andy, hi Minimad. Celestial Elixir. Hi Andy, I have a help to buy ISA with Halifax. By the time I'm ready to buy, there may not be any branches left, and it explicitly states in the terms and conditions it must be closed in branch to claim the bonus. Help. Wow, yeah, that is an odd one, isn't it? They're going to have to do something about that to adapt that. It may well be that there are banking hubs where we're going. A lot of the places, there'll be hubs left, but that's more about if there isn't any bank left where you live. There could be no Halifax, but there might be a Barclays, for example. I would say definitely it's worth finding out more about that as you get closer to it. Depends. You don't say when you're going to use it. So this year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years time, finding out exactly what they would do with that. But again, if there's no branches anywhere, they have to find a way for you to actively do that. So I'm sure they'll be adapting their systems for that. You'd hope so, wouldn't you? Anyway. Ali says, hi Andy, I have a fixed rate ISA for 2 years that started in October at 1.75%. Should I move the money into a higher earner and lose the current interest? Yeah, this is a really good question right now. I actually looked at this myself. I fixed my ISA at the end of March and put more money at the beginning of April because it was a really good rate then, and we did not expect rates to be going up again. If anything, we thought they'd be going down. So I had a quick look at my one, which was still a decent fix. I think it's 4.4 I got for 2 or 3 years. I can't remember off the top of my head now. But there was quite a substantial, I think 220 or 240 days penalty of interest if I was to close it early. And that would be, even if I hadn't earned that interest, it would still charge me that penalty. So if I withdraw it now, I'd probably taken out less than I initially put in. So I'm not going to do that because it doesn't make sense, because the rates aren't substantially different enough. Actually, I think it was about 4.2 and now they're about 4.6, something like that, 4.7. You're talking about 1.75%. Have a look at what the penalty is for that interest. I would imagine that you will get more money by putting it into a new fix now. Just do the maths. Look at the different options, but you're obviously going to have to check what the penalty is for this particular one you've got right now. It's definitely worth having a look at that and seeing what happens. And obviously that is in an ISA when you can exit a fixed account early, albeit for a penalty. Other fixes, if you leave them early, so non-ISA fixes, if you leave them early, then you just probably don't get any interest at all. If they let you do it. Sometimes they won't even let you close the account early at all. But it's certainly worth having a look if you have got such a difference. It's a really, really low rate and a much, much higher rates now. And you could probably make that money back that you'd penalty and more. So it's definitely worth checking those fixes you've got, what the rates are, what the penalties are, and how they compare to the current rates. Again, becleverwithyourcash.com/savings will list all the top paying savings accounts right now. Harsh says, hi Andy, any quick tips on applying for increased limits on Amex? I've read about requesting for 3 times and not exceeding the 25k rule. Can I request after just 3 months of opening my first card with them? Do you know what? I don't know. I don't know the answer for this. All you can do really is ask them, and they'll say yes or they'll say no. It's not going to harm you for asking. They don't do a new credit check or anything like that. They just kind of say yes or no. We'll increase it or we won't increase it. Obviously, the question is why you're increasing it, why you need to do that. If it's because you need to spend on it because you don't have money available elsewhere, then maybe an Amex isn't going to be the best option for you. Maybe a 0% card elsewhere is going to help you. Or is it just that the rate, it's really quite low at the moment, the credit limit that you've got, and it's not enough for just normal everyday spending. I had this a few years ago with a John Lewis and Partnership credit card. We were going to buy a sofa and they didn't take Amex. So I thought I'll use it on my John Lewis card, but the limit on that was £1,000. And it was like the sofa was like £1,200 or something like that. So I could only put some of the money on there. What they actually let me do is do that. I cleared it on my phone straight away, and then I paid the rest on it just to get that full those points back on it, which was what I was keen to do. But again, it's something to consider if you are applying for this, exactly why you're asking for this credit limit increase. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, just got to think about it. Okay, so Strawberry Mellow says, what do you think about the Wise's interest offer? You confirmed a number of times they're not FSCS registered. They are confirming their account is protected by UK government bonds. Yeah, I'm going to look into a little bit more detail on this shortly. I mean, one of the things about this rate, I think it's 3.79. It may well have increased since I looked the other day, is that I think it has fees attached with it. I need to look into it a little bit more details. Even if it's more than 3.79, and maybe, God, why don't we get this screen up now? Let's have a quick look. Let's see if I can find what they say on their personal account, because they are really pushing this right now, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, there are other rates. It wasn't so substantially better than other rates available elsewhere, which were much simpler, which didn't have fees and all of that kind of thing. I didn't think it was necessarily worth it. But again, they have pushed 3.89. Look, you can get 3.85% right now from one bank, 3.82 from another couple, 3.8 from others. I mean, fundamentally, there's not that much of a difference. I don't think it's going to be substantially more doing it. But I will look into it. I'll let you know my next savings update video that I'm going to do in about 3 weeks' time, something like that. What else we've got going on? Oh, I've missed someone's question here somewhere. No, I think they didn't press return. So Maritha says, in your opinion, what's the best current account? So my top accounts, I think in terms of just the app and just everyday banking, my personal favorite is Starling. I think it's better than both Monzo and Chase, which have good apps. Not such a fan of Monzo anymore. It used to be better in my opinion, but I think Starling does everything you need to do and it does it very, very well. In terms of just ongoing rewards, then my top one there is probably the Halifax rewards, £5 every single month, 60 quid a year, and it's very easy to get it. Although the Club Lloyds one, you can obviously now get a year of Disney Plus. If you are going to pay for that anyway, that's not a bad bet. And it also comes with a 6.25% regular save that you can attach with that. So that's a nice little bundle you can get. It's also a switch-in bonus running and for another month or so on that. For everyday spending, I do like Chase. So it's 1% cash back. It depends when you sign up to it, whether there's going to be a cap on it or not and how much you get. But broadly speaking, that's a good way for getting money back every time you spend. And also like the Santander 123 account. It's not as good as the old Santander 123 Lite account, which no longer exists for new customers, sadly. But you'll still get cash back on your bills. So as long as you are paying for your energy, council tax, maybe TV bills, although most people don't need that, but that's another story. Broadband, mobile phone, and water, you'll get some form of cash back. Although there's a fee on that every single month, you should still be earning on that every single month. So I think it's a great one just for your bills to come out of. Separate account just for bills, earning some money on that. They're probably my top ones. I may have forgotten something there somewhere, but they're the top ones, I would say. RPG Zanslayer. Hi, Andy. As someone who is interested in all these switching deals, what would you recommend is a good bank to start with before you continue to switch with it? So I have got a whole video and article looking at this called Dummy current accounts for switching. So go into YouTube or to Google, type in dummy current accounts, and my article and video will come up. So watch that. That'll give you an idea of some of the different options. One of the things I think to look for here is you ideally want to avoid a hard search on this first account, unless you're not going to have any applications for switching or elsewhere for a good 3 or 4 months, because obviously the more switches you do, the more new accounts you open, the more hard searches they're going to be, and that will have a short-term impact on your credit report. So ideally, you want to find one that's not going to do a hard search. The best ones there probably are Starling and Monzo, although if you do want to carry on using those as your everyday account, then that's going to be a problem, because every time you switch, you close an account down. So you maybe, try them both out, see which one you like best of all. You don't need them both, just one of them, try them both. You won't be hard searched to open them, and then switch the one you don't like. And that's your first one to switch. And then obviously you can carry on. Alternatively, if you already have an account with one of the more established banks like Halifax or Santander, then you can often open up an additional account with them. You may or may not be hard searched for this. It does depend by bank, and I think sometimes by customer as well. But then you've got that additional account. You can always use that to switch, but it won't affect your existing account with some of those banks. Again, check out that article and video which has more information. Michael says, Andy, I left Nationwide and then they announced the Fairer Share scheme. Can you reopen or open a new account with them? So absolutely, you can open up a new account with Nationwide. They are not going to lock you out in the same way that Chase does permanently. Monzo and Starling for a few months. Each individual bank, they will have to give you a new account. They might say, well, why did you just close the account to open it up again? They might not do it straight away, but most of the bigger banks, Nationwide is obviously a building society, they will let you do this. Obviously, you won't be eligible for the Fairer Share payment this year, but you may be next year if they keep the terms and conditions the same and you do those actions. Get a whole video, a whole article on the blog goes into that in much more detail. Plus, I did mention it in my banking update at the weekend. That will give you, hopefully, you'll be there for whatever payment there is next year. Dylan says there seems to be an issue on Instagram. Is there an Instagram, guys? Sorry, guys. It looks like it's still streaming. There's still some of you there. I'm still getting questions through. Maybe let me know what the issue is, Dylan. I'll come back to later on. Deepak says, does the Halifax reward cashback and top cashback, etc., count towards your PSA for the year? No, cashback is not interest. It does not count towards your personal savings allowance. There will be a slight difference with the Halifax reward bonus. The way you're achieving this is if you're doing it by having £5,000 saved in the account every single month in order to trigger that £5 bonus. If you are, it does count as interest and it will count towards your PSA, but that is not the best way to do it. So hopefully no one's doing that. Hopefully everyone is doing the spend £500 on the debit card trick. If you're still locked in that old option, every 12 months you can change that. So make sure you make a note of when the first year is up or the second year, however long you've been doing this, and change that £500 with debit card version. And remember, check out my video and article which takes you through to ways to hack that so you can get not just that £5 bonus for spending with your debit card, but also cash back by spending, say, with Chase or Amex or whoever it might be. So you're also getting the 1% back elsewhere. So effectively doubling your monthly amount from that hack. Annette says, evening Andy, I have a 1.10% fixed mortgage rate ending in 2 years. Should I overpay or keep money in an ISA? So right now, broadly, again, you have to sort of work this out for yourself, your own situation, but broadly, that's a very low mortgage rate, isn't it? Obviously, compared to what new deals are. So in 2 years' time, sadly, your rates, who knows, 2 years is a long way to go, but you might like to be paying a lot more. So you could say overpaying your mortgage now will reduce how much money you've got in your mortgage money that you owe. That means when it comes around again, maybe you've moved down those loan to value tiers, LTV. So maybe you're on an 80% equity right now, but if you could overpay it over the next few years, maybe you can get down to 70, maybe even to 60, which gives you get access to probably lower rates, which sounds like a great thing to do. But because interest rates and savings are so much higher right now, the more money you put into there, you actually make more in interest in savings than you'll save in the interest on your mortgage. And what you could potentially do, put your money into savings, make sure it's not locked away too much. So when that 2-year fix, your mortgage fix comes to an end, before that, take the money, the savings that you would have overpaid your mortgage up and now in a savings account, plus the interest you've earned, and use them to make a lump sum overpayment on your mortgage, which might still get you, again, even further below those different LTV rates when you come to remortgage. But the really important thing to consider here is many mortgages will have a limit on how much you can overpay every single year. So you have to be within that. Sometimes it might be just 10%. Some of them don't. Some of them will let you just overpay it whenever you want, or maybe just have an early repayment charge if you complete it before that the deal is up. So definitely look into those different options there. But certainly if we're talking about, if you could lock some money away right now, fixes around 5% for a year, 18 months, notice accounts, that kind of 4.3, 4.4. Which means you give notice before that money comes out. They're variable, but still it's a higher rate. Or even just purely easy access right now, they're nudging towards that 4% rate. In fact, HSBC on Thursday, you're going to increase their online bonus saver. You have to have a current account or savings account with them to get this. That'll be up to 4% on up to 10K, although you can only make one withdrawal. If you make a withdrawal, the rate does drop. Again, if we're talking about leaving that money in there. And regular savers, again, regular savers are a great place. 7%. There's a couple of building societies this week, 7.5%, 9%, although you have to be an existing customer. So there are lots of ways you can really, really boost that return and have that money still accessible for you when you need to overpay. Jay Lunnan says, I maxed out my ISA and premium bonds, now paying tax on savings. Where should I invest? So I don't obviously give investing advice on here. And in fact, no one should be giving investing advice if they're not a regulated financial advisor. But you could obviously have a look at where you're going to get the best returns. You can do research yourself, or you can, depends how much you've got, you could talk to a financial advisor and they might be able to suggest some different options for you. Obviously, bear in mind, although this is the classic thing that people always talk about with investing, isn't it? Previous performance does not necessarily indicate, well, I can't remember the word in there now, but basically, past performance does not necessarily mean what you're going to get in the future. If something did really well, it got a 10% return every year for the last 50 years or whatever it is, it might get nothing. It might be awful over the next few years. So you can't just sort of go, well, that was good, so it would be it again. So you have to be going into these things knowing that maybe you won't get as good a return. You potentially could even lose your money. Be aware of that. And you also need to factor in the fees that can come with investing at different stages. So yes, in theory, the history says that you'll get a better return most of the time from investing than you will from savings. It's just worth having those things in mind. If you haven't invested already, definitely do your research. Don't just go blindly into it. Do what some YouTuber says. Just do your research so you fully understand it. What we've got here. Isaac says, how would I use the drip saving method from Chip to another easy access savings account? So I did a video and an article looking at drip saving method for really principally around regular savers last year, I think, maybe this year. I think it was last year. And at that time, the way the rates were, it didn't actually make too much difference. If you had a lump sum of cash that you didn't need to access, kind of made sense really just to whack it in a fixed rate account rather than faff around with moving it every single month into about 5 or 6 different regular savers. Obviously, regular savers have a cap on how much you can save into them every single month. That was then. Obviously, rates have improved a lot since then on both sides. So worth having to sort of just thinking about this, whether it's actually worth your time. If we're talking about a lump sum, if we're talking about new money every single month, then obviously you don't need to be drip saving it. You can just put it straight into one of those higher paying regular savers. Although you're saying here, Isaac, you want to drip savings from Chip to another easy access savings account. I don't see why you would want to do that because Chip is the highest paying one. You'd only really want to sort of drip savings over to a higher paying account where there are restrictions like a regular saver. Hope that makes sense. Again, check out my video I did about drip feeding, or the article about drip feeding savings. Although the rates will be different, the principles will be there. That might explain things a bit better for you. Andrew says, evening Andy, do you think it's worth opening the HSBC saver, paying 4% and leaving 10K in there? Also, can I ask where you have your savings? So, as I just spoke to that HSBC one, it's currently paying, well, from Thursday it'll be 4%. If you don't make a withdrawal, that is not beatable at the moment. I would not be surprised if we see a few other easy access accounts nudging towards that. But if you obviously easy access, you need access to the money. If you don't need access to the cash and you can put it away, you can beat 4% in notice accounts, in a 6-month fix, a 9-month fix, a 1-year fix, all these different rates. So it's really about, do you need to get the money or not? But if you already have an HSBC current account, or you're eligible for that online bonus saver, then there's no harm getting it. 4% is pretty good on up to 10K. Obviously, there is the Barclays Blue Rewards Rainy Day Saver paying 5.12% up to 5K, which does beat that. With all these things, rates will change. So you've got to be, not moving it for a small amount. But if your money right now is earning 2%, I know it's not Andrew because you're a regular here on the lives, but if you're 2% to 4%, no brainer. 3.82% to 4%, 10K, it will make a difference over a year. But then what if other rates move elsewhere? Hopefully that helps you out there. I Am Tiger says, hi Andy, I am doing a minimum payment on my credit card. Does it affect the credit score? Tell me how to make my credit score high. I have never missed any of my payments for the last 5 years. So in terms of boosting your credit score, I'd say I've got articles and videos on those. So do watch those, read those. They'll give you some broader suggestions and tips. What I would say is the minimum payment on your credit card is vital, because if you don't pay it and you miss it, then you get a default, and also you'll get charges. So that is the minimum you should be doing, is making that minimum repayment every single month. The problem with a minimum repayment is that it can take a long time for you to actually clear that debt on those cards, because it just, the minimum, because often a percentage gets smaller and smaller every time the balance gets lower. If it's a minimum, say like a $5, well then that will stay the same, and that makes difference. What I would suggest you do instead, if you can afford this, and appreciate you might not be able to afford this, but to calculate what you can pay every single month above that minimum. So let's say the minimum repayment every month is a $5, yeah? Whether that's a fixed amount or a percentage. Can you do a tenner? Can you do 20? Can you do 30? If the minimum is 100, can you do 200? Do you know what? You get the gist, right? Because that will clear that debt much faster. So that's the most important thing to do there, if you can. Again, there's lots of content out there as well about clearing credit card debts. Have a look at those. If you have more than one debt as well, it's definitely also worth thinking about which debt has the highest interest rate, and focusing on that. That mathematically is the best way to reduce your debts faster, pay the most expensive ones sooner. And of course, I should have said this right at the top actually. I'm sure you've done this already, but have you looked into a 0% balance transfer credit card? Are you eligible for any of those? If you are, and you can transfer your card debt over to this new card, then you will be not going to charge any interest for that length of time, and there's different lengths you can have. Some of them will have a transfer fee, so just bear that in mind. But that will give you more time. So the money you're paying every single month, and again, ideally more than the minimum, as much as you can possibly afford, you'll clear it even faster. So when that 0% deal finishes, ideally you've cleared the debt. If you haven't, you maybe transfer it again to a different one. But if you can't transfer it, at least there's less debt on there that'll be earning interest. Benjamin says, hi Andy, I messaged you on Insta and got the automated response to join the Facebook group, which I've tried to do. It's still pending a few days later. All right, Benjamin, I will make a note to have a look for you. Generally, what I do with the Facebook group, and it's not ideal for this one, it's not the perfect way of doing things, I appreciate that, but I do look to check that people are UK based, because this is a UK based channel. I'm talking about UK based personal finance, and so is the website. So there's not really much use for people if they're not UK based joining it, and sometimes you get a lot of scammers and spammers who are not from the UK. But of course, some people are expats, some people are living abroad, or some people they've moved here but they haven't changed their Facebook group, because let's face it, do people use Facebook as much as they used to? No. So it might still say they're living in Spain, but actually they are living here, and they have been for like a decade or something. So that sometimes, give me a nudge if you've applied for the group and I haven't accepted you and you are living in the UK, please do send me a DM on Facebook with who you are, and I will check if you're still in that queue. Rearview says, hi Andy, update on Amex 875 credit card please. I don't know what that is, mate. Sorry about that. Benjamin's question, which business account would you recommend for holding clients' money? So the producer pays into that account and I transfer the client their money owed minus my commission, and then commission to me. So obviously, so don't, what are you, okay, so if someone's paying you money into a business account and then you transfer them the money, I think any business account will be fine for that. I don't think you need a special one for that. Yeah, and obviously if you're paying yourself your own commission, whether you're a sole trader or a limited company, that will vary how that works. But that won't make a difference there at all. But if you are a sole trader, it does make sense to have your money in a separate account. It does not have to be a special business account. It could be just a separate current account, but I would keep it separate from your main current account. It just makes it easy to understand where that money is going and where it's gone. If you are a limited company, then obviously you have to get a special business banking account. If you don't have cash at all, then I would look at Starling and Monzo as your top options, because they're free. If you do have cash a lot, then maybe look at some of the others, but then charges will come into play. How are we doing for time? Oh, only a couple of minutes left. Let's do one more from Insta and then try 2 from YouTube if we can. A lot of repeat questions there. Okay. Rajdeep says, I have a question on Cash ISA. I want to invest for retirement and I want to know which you would recommend. I do not require the cash and thought I'd take advantage of the government investment. So you're probably talking about a lifetime ISA. I think if you're talking about the government investment, that is a 25% bonus you get. There is cash. The lifetime ISA is, I'm going to whole video and article on that to do. Check those out with more information. But the lifetime ISA, basically, the most you can put in every single year is £4,000. You would get a 25% bonus every single year on that year's deposit. So it doesn't keep accumulating year after year after year. 25% is just a one-off thing. But again, the following year, put more money in, you'll get another 25% off added on. You can only use it for buying your first home or when you are 60 years old. Now, if you're talking about retirement, and you say cash there, you'd be better off, I would say, with the stocks and shares version, because that is a long time in advance. So you want more better chance for your money to grow in that time. Maybe later on, nearer the time of retirement, you want to access it, maybe change it into a cash lifetime ISA. Then the main obviously rule there was we have to be under 40 years old. Again, more information on that over on the blog and YouTube channel. All right, let's do the last two more from YouTube. Martin says, I've maxed out my ISA for this year and have 20,000 spare. Where am I best putting it to get the best return? I am scared to invest. So again, I understand why people get a bit worried about investing, and it can feel like a whole nother world. Again, it's not something that I've been doing for a long time, and I don't talk about it partly because I don't feel that I'm an expert on it in any way. I talk about the things that I understand better. Plus also financial advice is regulated when you talk about particular investments, so it's best to avoid that completely. But certainly do your research. If you've got enough money to sort of survive on right now and you're talking longer term, more than 5 years in the future, investing can be a good thing. It can be quite scary, particularly thinking about, well, is the market going to the top now? Is it going to crash? What am I going to lose my money? All those things can be a bit scary. So I get it. Don't worry, I do. You obviously can, there's a lot of great resources out there. My friend Kalpana Fitzpatrick wrote a book called Invest Now earlier this year. So maybe take a look at that. That might explain everything to you much better. You also think about your pension. Can you put more money into your pension, get the tax relief from that as well? That is investing as well. So you are already investing if you've got a pension, but obviously you get a tax relief on top, so that could be a good way of doing it. Have you got a mortgage? Can you be overpaying your mortgage? All those kind of options. But if you do want to keep it in cash savings, you do want access to it. Just you've got premium bonds at prices are also tax-free. I spoke about that briefly in the podcast that came out today. If you haven't listened, head to podfollow.com/cash chats, or just search for cash chats in your podcasting app. So that might hopefully help you there. And this one's from Harsh, says, hi Andy, can I get a credit card from a bank without a current account with them? It shows my eligibility with the comparison sites. Broadly speaking, you do not need to have a current account with a bank in order to get a credit card or any other product. The only time this is different is if there is a specific product, credit card, savings account, whatever it might be, that says you only get this, or you only get this special rate, or you only avoid a monthly fee, whatever it is, if you have a current account. If this is showing you can get this, a good chance of getting it, and you don't have a current account with them, and it doesn't say you need to have a current account, then you are all fine. Right, thank you so much, everyone. I do love doing this. Next one will be probably again in a couple of weeks, I would imagine. In the meantime, join the Facebook group, head over to the blog, listen to the podcast. Loads of information you'll find there all the time. That is it. Oh, and the newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. It comes every single Thursday. becleverwithyourcash.com/newsletter. It's free. The best of everything I do. It's a great way of keeping on top of all the new content that is coming along. All right, guys, have a lovely rest of the week. Hopefully the sun will kind of come back out again. It's been a bit grey here today. I'm sure it has for some of you as well. And I'll see you again soon. All right, cheers.